Early on in my weight loss journey, I thought that MyFitnessPal was literally the key to everything. I thought that I couldn't get around tracking my macros. I thought I couldn't get around to weighing my rice and weighing my meat and all these things. I thought there was no way around it. I thought that every single thing that my mouth touched had to be weighed. But that was ultimately not the truth. Because when I was weighing and tracking calories all the time, I became obsessive in an unhealthy way. I became obsessive because I never knew how to actually balance my mental health and the way that I perceived food from the actual intention that food has with our body. See, this is the turning point. Once I realized that I had an unhealthy obsession, I need to actually find a way to continue to lose weight, continue to progress my body without tracking a calorie. And that is why I built this system. This is life without tracking macros. You do not need MyFitnessPal. You do not need to obsessively count everything that enters your body. You can build the dream physique without doing so. So the origin story. So a couple years ago, I lost 80 pounds. So I went from about 240 pounds to 160. I believe my heaviest was like 243, 244, and my lowest was 163. So this is a picture of me when I was about 240 pounds. I was fat. I was getting high every day. My body was just literally disgusting. I would crush 2 Domino's thin crust medium pizzas. Shout out the $6 deal back in the day. I would drink a gallon of Turkey Hill lemonade. I would eat 2 Wendy's 4 for 4s. This was a regular occurrence. If I went to McDonald's, I would get 2 hash browns and a bagel sandwich. If I went to a bagel place, I would get a bagel with cream cheese and a breakfast sandwich. Like, I was just crushing so much food that was unhealthy for my body. And during quarantine, I have kind of told myself I had enough. There was nothing going on in quarantine. My life didn't have a direction. I'm 18. I just graduated high school, if you will, and I just felt like shit overall. My mental well-being was not there because I didn't have a direction. And one day my therapist told me to go on a run. I went on a run, and the rest was history. That day on, everything was bearable. I was able to actually want to live the day. So I became obsessed with working out. It became my life. So from that point on, it wasn't about losing weight. It was about surviving. But if I was going to do this for a passion and a living, why not have a goal? So from that point on, I dedicated my life to learn how to lose weight. And I'll keep it a buck. I tracked every single calorie early in my weight loss journey. When I was trying to shred off weight, I tracked so much. At first, it was just starving myself, right? When I went from 240 to about 210, it was just starving myself. But to make that final push, I tracked every calorie, but it was not in a healthy manner, and I did not need to do so at all. So I tracked every single calorie, became obsessed. Every time I stepped on the scale, it was this unhealthy obsession with how I looked, how I felt, what I did. All of it became unhealthy. So I realized I needed to kind of figure out my means of life without tracking calories. So once I lost all the weight, I stopped tracking calories. But I had a shitty system and a big flaw in my life. I fell off. I went through all the highs and lows. I got complacent. I felt good. People started to look at me different. Women would look at me different. Everything started to make me feel good. So I got complacent, and I never actually stuck to what brought me there, and that was tracking calories. But I knew I never wanted to go back. I knew that I could not track a calorie again because it became unhealthy. So right here, you can see there's still visible fat, but this was not me tracking, right? I would say I was about a year removed from tracking calories in this picture. I was about 2 years in or a year and a half in with my girlfriend as of now, same lady, lovely wife that I have now. But I was just complacent. I was eating crazy. I was having the fried Oreos. I was getting high and getting the munchies, and I would overeat. I wouldn't track. And I knew in my head, I just have to eat healthy, right? I just have to not eat fried food and fast food and drink soda and drink my calories, right? I knew these things. I knew the basics. But it never got me to success because I was still eating bad. I ate good, but I ate bad. And if that doesn't make sense to you, because I was eating quote-unquote healthy food. If I would eat fast food, I would eat Chick-fil-A grilled nuggets. If I ate out, I would make sure that I wasn't overdoing it on a week-to-week basis, right? But that always held me back because I never had the right intention with my food. I never knew how to actually build a system without tracking calories. I was just winging it. I thought I had the knowledge. I thought that if I just didn't eat nonsense, then I would be okay. But ultimately, that held me back. So I began to start to gain weight again. I got down to 160, and I gained 20 pounds of, I would say, body fat, and I got up to about 193. Still, obviously, having muscle. I'm visibly looking swole, if you will, but I had a lot of visible fat, and I needed to become the best version of myself if I wanted to help others. So the turning moment is that right there. Was, I would say, summer of 2022. I said I've had enough, right? That picture was May 22, and we'll come back to that later. But I had enough. I was sick of eating the fried Oreos and going out to this gas station and getting the fast food, getting high as shit, eating whatever I wanted to eat when I went out to restaurants, having an appetizer, having an entree, and thinking it was okay because I was moving my body. That was the turning point. From that point on, I decided it was time for me to build a system that was backed by intention, a system that was backed by purpose. And I learned the best applicable way to get my dream body without tracking a calorie. And I'm going to explain exactly how I did that. So first, you have to eat with intention. If you are not eating with intention, you are ultimately going to cook your body, right? If you are just eating to eat and you're eating because you're bored, if you're eating because you're emotional, that is what I did for so long. I would eat because I was bored. I would eat because I was high and I thought that I was hungry, but I was just dehydrated. Once I started to eat with intention, I was able to actually get to where I wanted to be. And what I mean by intention was I was look at food as like a purpose. I would look at food as it was performance. It wasn't just to make my body look good or make me, this is healthy, this isn't healthy. No, it was what is going to bring me closer to my goal every time that I ate. So I'd have this question I'd put in my head: does this meal align with the version that I want to be? Does this align with the future Isaiah that I want to be? And if it did not, I would not put it in my body. Second thing that I would do is I would stick to whole foods. So I would legitimately eat foods God intended me to eat. I wasn't going to eat the Chick-fil-A because that Chick-fil-A grilled chicken sandwich had 45 ingredients. What on God's green earth does a sandwich with bread, chicken, and pickles, grilled chicken, mind you, pickles, and then tomato? Why does that have 44 ingredients? I just probably listed 5 or 6 things in my head I can think about. So I started to stick to whole foods. I would eat foods that were like fruit, meat, vegetables, potatoes, eggs, certain cheeses. This became a staple in my life. The reason I stuck to that is because God did not intend you to eat 45 ingredients in one meal. We have to stick to things that we know work because our ancestors did not track calories. Our ancestors would eat food and then go hunt, and they would eat food and go to battle, right? They weren't tracking calories. They were in shape machines. And it's no coincidence that around the 40s, 50s, and 60s, people started to be getting pushed this agenda of fast food and looking like shit, especially in America. So I started to think like my ancestors and trying to eat what God intended me to eat. The third thing I did was I started to fast again. When I lost 80 pounds, I fasted 20 hours a day. I would have an eating window. Once I stopped that, I got complacent. I started to go off the rails, and I figured it was time I've had enough. So I started fasting. Fasting is literally going to make your metabolism work the best possible way, your digestive tract the best possible way, and your body is going to turn fat into energy. So I would do fasted workouts. I would fast. I would have an eating window of 6 to 8 hours, and that helped me regulate my appetite and regulate my calories to the best of my ability. And this is just a small factor of what I did. But once I started doing that, I stopped drifting into the abyss. I started to actually live with intention. I started to live like the version of me that I always wanted to be. Because food wasn't just food anymore. It wasn't just this random thing that I would lean on when I was bored or high as balls. It was fuel. I looked at food as fuel. I looked at food as intention. And that intention needed to align me with where I wanted to be. So the result of me having this system is I literally was able to build this physique in 5 months' time. You guys saw, let's go back. This is what I looked like, May of 2022. This is September 2022. I was able to build my dream physique without tracking a damn dime, dog. I didn't need to consistently rely on calories in, calories out, macro this, macro that. I can't eat out with friends and family because I need to track my meals. It was unhealthy. I built a damn system that was able to turn my physique into what you guys just saw into this. You see, I have defined muscle. I have a six-pack. I have the body that I always wanted to have, and that's because I did not track a dime, right? And the way that I was able to track that is what I just explained. I had the whole foods. They brought me to the finish line. The fasting brought me to the finish line. The intentionally eating brought me to across the finish line, right? Once I started to actually eat whole foods, I was brought to the forefront. I knew what needed to be done. Now it was just sticking to the system. And then the attention brought me across the finish line. It brought me to the system. And you guys can do the same thing. It's just about following it to a T. So I have an offer for you guys. If you guys simply just want to have control of your life again, you want to lose weight, but you just can't seem to find yourself tracking calories. You want to lose weight, but you don't know what to do in the gym. You feel like you're lost. Every time you step on that scale, it's the same as it was last year. Every time you look into that mirror, you're the same person you were 3 months ago, despite the goals that you set for yourself. I have an offer for you. So I'm going to put a link down below for an online coaching business that I offer to specific clients that I want to work with. I want to work with people that are high-driven individuals. I want to work with people that actually want to fulfill and live out their purpose, not people that are just going to sit on their ass and expect things to be handed to you. So if you want to live a life of freedom, if you want to live a life of flexibility that isn't so confined to just your life needs to be fitness. Your life needs to be tracking calories. Your life does not need to be that. It's about balance. And I built a system that you clearly see that still had system. I was balance. I was able to still go out. I was still able to live and drink with my friends. I was still able to, hang out with people and go eat out when I wanted to and go see my friends, have a few drinks here and there. That life provided me balance, and the system provided me balance. So if you guys want to learn more about that balance and actually take control of your life, click that link down below, and I'm looking forward to talking to you guys. If it does not work out, so be it. I just want to plant a seed and help you guys actually fulfill and cross that finish line. I'm looking forward to talking to you guys soon. God bless and have an amazing day.